So 5% Club is a community of former and current college athletes. We're the survivors. We're the ones that didn't mind getting up at 5. Well, we minded it, but we did it anyways. There's a lot of things we didn't want to do, but we did. We're the ones that went on to play college and went on to our careers. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Andrea's story, her life, and the things that she utilized as an athlete when she was playing basketball at Rice. So talk about that transition. Talk about a little bit, unpack your career. Let's start with that transition from being a college athlete to here's your diploma. Now go make something of the world.
I had my plan, and then there was the plan that unfolded. So I would say this: my parents always said, you don't choose your family, but you choose your friends, you choose your college, you choose your job, and they will all have more impact on you than you imagine. So choose wisely. Right. So that was kind of the going in framework. And so I obviously was fortunate, played basketball. I was a Title IX kid, right? Product of Title IX. So I was fortunate, full ride scholarship to Rice University. I've certainly had a higher opinion of my talent than was true. And so when it came to the point of graduation, really what I wanted to do was to play professionally somewhere and have some, get paid in some regard to play a sport that I loved. And my dad, who has been a constant theme in my life, was like, you're nuts. You do not even get full playing time at the college that you are at. So you are not good enough for anyone else to pay you more than you've already been paid. Take your experience, take your diploma, get yourself a job. You have 31 days to be off of our payroll. And if you're not off on 31 days, then we will start to charge you rent. And so it got very clear very quickly for me. And so then I thought, I want to be an agent. If I can't play, then I want to be a sports agent. So again, same conversation. My dad said, great, no problem. Here's my recommendation. Go get your law degree, but start by clerking in a law firm. And if you go to law school, your mom and I will pay for law school. We'll help you with that because that makes a bunch of sense. But we're not going to pay money for law school until you truly believe and understand what it takes. I said, great. We were fortunate to have a family friend who had a commercial law practice. I was there for 3.5 weeks and said, a lot of books, a lot of reading. There's nothing about this that feels like what I really wanted. So once again, my dad was right. He said, okay, you're 0 for 2. No college, you're not going to play professionally. You are not going to be an agent or an attorney. So, and you still have 31 days, get out. In a very loving way, I should say. It was great. He was, obviously very direct, but I ended up answering a classified ad. That's how old I am, Rob. It was in a newspaper, print. I picked it up because I really had no idea what I wanted to do. I had business and sports management were my majors at Rice. And so I knew I wanted to do something in that arena, but I didn't know a gateway, and sports management as a discipline was really underdeveloped at the time. So I ended up answering a classified ad, got myself into a marketing services agency, fell in love with the work of really solving problems for people, working with really large brands, which I have been fortunate to do over my career, and just kind of stayed on the path of, business services or marketing promotions agencies.
Looking back now on your career, and you look at all the skill set that you developed as an athlete that's transitioned over to business. And when you look at now this bigger community of the 5% Club and having that aha moment that you did something that was really super cool when you were a teenager and into your young 20s to be able to play, college basketball. What does that 5% Club and that community of former college athletes mean to you now?
Well, it's a great community to be a part of. I probably took it for granted before now, honestly, because sport was always something we did. I'm one of 3. I'm the only girl, a middle child, and sport. So foundationally for us, it was family, faith, sport. That was it. Little sunshine, throw sunshine in there because we grew up in California. So sport was so central. Sport, teamwork, competition was so central to how we were raised and what our experience was that it was, I appreciated the opportunity and the privilege of getting a scholarship, but it's almost that there was not a negotiation if we were going to go to college or not. I never took it for granted, but as I reflect back now, it really was an unbelievably unique experience. I was just fortunate to have a lot of friends who were in that same 5% club. And so the shared experiences and my network of friends and family that I've developed in the last 20, 25 years, a lot of us have that same experience. When I step back, and honestly, when I saw your post and I thought, wow, you know what? This is pretty rare air. This is not an easy path. And the things that I learned in sport and the things I learned as a competitive collegiate athlete in terms of winning and losing, betting on yourself, being a collaborator, understanding your purpose, putting in the time, right? All translate and transfer so classically and have transferred pretty classically into my commercial career that I think it has become, it's easy for me to watch that integration because it's just a different forum and a different form of competition versus being between the lines on a basketball court.
What do you tell now to those current student athletes, the women's basketball team at Rice, those ladies who are coming in, who are taking advantage of NIL, hopefully, who are using that as a way of discovering where their career is going? What advice do you give to them?
First of all, know how you make and lose money, right? Have a real understanding of the value of money, because when you are, so NIL creates new opportunities, right? Being a scholarship athlete is one thing, right? So understanding the value of you're coming out of college with zero debt. There are tens of thousands of students who are not student athletes who come out of college not encumbered, who come out of college encumbered by debt, right? If you have the opportunity to be on a scholarship, first of all, you come out way ahead because you have no debt. So, but it also, I think, can have there be a gap in how you value money. That's what happened to me. I didn't have a true appreciation of the value of money. So if I went back, I would say, number one, have an appreciation for the value of money. Number two, know how you will make and lose money over the course of your life. Number three, put yourself, every single thing that you do in terms of a brand affiliation is a reflection of your choices and ultimately your values, and choose wisely, right? Because what you believe in personally may not be what you can, or what maybe not be what you can be partnered with or represent in a commercial arena to have sustainable, right? Sustainable opportunity at revenue over time. And that's very, very hard. So authenticity, I think, is bringing your full self to any commercial situation, but being able to tease apart personal passion versus commercial alignment with brands that will have staying power over time. That's a big, I would say that's a big concept to wrap your mind around as a 18, 19, 20-year-old kid that really hasn't had a ton of experience in terms of financial literacy. So that's what I would say. And I hope as these, NIL and all of this continues to emerge, that compliance and NIL coordinators at these collegiate institutions are giving that counsel to both female and male athletes, because they're going to need it.
But talk a little bit about your current projects. What's your focus right now?
So commercially, I am incredibly fortunate to lead our global partnership with Costco Wholesale. So I work for a company called Advantage Solutions, and we're a global outsourced business services provider, which means we solve problems for the largest brands and the largest retailers in the world and help them sell more stuff. It's, there's a lot of fancy words that we can all use, but when you boil it down, those are the basics. And as part of our executive team, my remit is to lead this global partnership with Costco, which is phenomenal. They are an incredible organization. And so I spend a lot of time in that role, number one, driving commercial performance delivery, because it's a big business and it matters to our total company. I'm a huge advocate for belonging and inclusion and equity. So serve on with our head of HR on our DE&I board in order to create belonging for all and moving towards compensation equity for all. I'm an executive at a company, and I'm have a lot of influence, but we're still not on par in terms of gender pay equity within an organization. And so I have taken that up as something that I'm really spending a lot of, I would say, my influence capital on within the organization. And then personally, I am, you and I had this conversation when you first met. I am was recently diagnosed with advanced stage colon cancer. Really scary, came out of the blue. It's a daily fight. I'm still in it. There's going to be an ongoing fight. So I am being very intentional about self-care, but more importantly, advocacy for colon cancer awareness, because my story very, very quickly. I skipped every colonoscopy for all the reasons we all do. It's all the things. I was busy, I was traveling, I was this, I was that. And it doesn't mean that I wouldn't have had cancer if I got my colonoscopy when I was slated to 3 years ago. It just means it would have been smaller. And what my outcomes and my surgery and the path that I'm on in terms of, I've got a long path to between now and no evidence of disease. And I could have avoided that path if I would have just done the darn colonoscopy. So colon cancer advocacy and using my personal platform, my commercial platform is something I'm really passionate about.
How has this experience through the diagnosis changed your overall lifestyle, your view on life, your relationship with people? Just unpack that a little bit more.
Yeah. Gosh, first of all, it's a team sport. Go back to sport, right? Having cancer, being treated for cancer, living with cancer treatment, it's just all a team sport. I mean, so I've had the great fortune to rely on, family and friends, and I'm not a great person to ask for help. That's just never been a real strong suit of mine. And my experience with this was like you see in the movie. I got the diagnosis. It took my breath away, literally put me on my heels. And so I knew I had work to do. Was going to have to survive the physical part of it, which for me started with a really intense surgery. And that I could get my head around real quickly. It took me a little bit longer to get my head around just the fear that I was pretty unaware of, that I was carrying that amount of fear, the fear of being a cancer survivor, and the path to no evidence of disease really limited some of the help that I allowed people to give me initially, because I just needed to get the fear in check on my own. Now that the fear for myself is in check, it's still a team sport. I'm still getting a lot of incredible support, but I can go back to, again, training, discipline, just like in sport. So what's changed is I don't trade off on sleep anymore. What's changed is I don't trade off on or take for granted fitness. I could, during post-surgery and even pre-surgery, when I was quite sick and didn't really know what was wrong, I had not been using exercise. I just couldn't. My body was not prepared for it. And so not taking that for granted anymore and really enjoying getting after that have been a big difference. And then just overall nutrition, as our bodies as athletes, you rely on your body. And I took nutrition post collegiate performance, post a window of time where I was doing a lot of marathons. I did, I think, 11 marathons in 4 years. So there were 2 chapters of very good nutritional focus for me. So I was fueling my body, and then I just fell off the wagon. And so a renewed focus on nutrition, which is just necessary for my recovery and my ongoing health, is a big change.
Life isn't fair, and we all know that. It's really how you deal with it. And I think the foundation of you as a competitor, extremely smart person, extremely kind person. I believe that you were put in certain situations to help other people as well, whether it's fair or not. And you're an incredible spokesperson. It's inspirational. You're obviously at the top of your game as a professional. And as I just think this video, especially because you're number 3 in the list right now for this season, this is going to, I think, wake a lot of people up. My wife and I both scheduled our exams because of the conversation we had. It was a reminder. So there you go. There's two people right there that you just automatically kind of woke up a little bit. And we don't always have an opportunity in life to thank people that helped us along the way. And I know there's been a ton of people. I mean, you obviously touched on your dad, but who are some of those other coaches, professors, maybe colleagues, or people that you worked with along the way that, if you were going to give a mini Hall of Fame speech, what would that be right now?
That's a great one. So I'm going to go back to, for sure, in the lineup would have to be a coach by the name of Jim Hutchinson. And Jim Hutchinson was the coach of the Mission Viejo Soccerettes, which was the first ever club soccer team formed here in Southern California. And if anyone who sees this knows or listens to Julie Foudy, if you don't, you should. But if you've ever listened to Foudy's podcast on Laughter Permitted and heard her talk about the Green Machine, that was a team. I was part of that team. So Julie and I met when I was 9, she was 8. So Hutchinson was our coach. We were all very young, very impressionable. He trained us like the boys. We practiced against the boys. He created a lot of travel opportunity and set expectations really high for us. And so as a foundational, I would say, mentor and coach, he'd have to be on the list. Hands down, my dad. I mean, you heard it. You heard me mention it. He would have to be there. There was one of my first bosses was a gentleman by the name of Bruce Curley. And I was starting running a nonprofit. And Bruce was a former athlete himself. He had 2 kids that were my age that he was bringing up through the commercial ranks, and he was kind, he was thoughtful, but again, he put me in situations where we were raising money. We would walk into these very large boardrooms and we would do a presentation. And when the questions started to come, all of the bankers or the investors would look at Bruce and start to answer. And he very quickly, after about 6 months, would turn to them and say, "You're not talking to me, you're talking to her. She's the one who's going to make the decision." So he really put me in a position very young in my career where I was in these big commercial rooms with these big hitters in my mind. And he helped me gain a lot of commercial confidence in terms of being in those. So I would say those 3, I'll put those 3 right on the short list of who are people who have foundationally shaped me, both from a human and a sport and a commercial perspective.
Well, I can't tell you how fortunate we are. When I imagine putting together this club, and it happened organically, someone that I never met you before, this is exactly what I hoped for, was this level of professionals, people. And I know we've been around college athletes our whole life, and they're the core of our friends from 30, 40 years ago. And this is exactly what I wanted to get out of it. So I'm happy to share your story. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thank you. Really appreciate the connection. Thank you to you and your wife for getting your colonoscopy scheduled. You're right. If I make a difference, one colonoscopy at a time, I've done my work.
On behalf of all of us at the 5% Club and Andrea and myself, Rob here, thanks for watching, and hope you have a great day. Take care, everybody.